In the sprawling, brick-and-mortar halls of Lincoln High, a public school in a sleepy Midwestern town, the air thrummed with the restless energy of adolescence. The scent of floor polish mingled with the faint tang of Jim's sweat, and the clang of lockers reverberated like a heartbeat through the corridors. Lincoln High was a place where reputations were built and broken in the span of a single lunch period, and no one held more sway than the Wolverines, the school's championship wrestling team. For 3 years, they'd dominated the state, their trophy case a shrine of gleaming gold and polished plaques. At the heart of this dynasty were Jake, the Tank, Morrison, Matt, Razor, Caldwell, and Tyler, Hawk, Brennan, senior wrestlers whose names were synonymous with power, both on the mat and in the social pecking order. Their Letterman jackets, adorned with pins from every victory, were a badge of untouchability, their laughter a warning shot to anyone who dared cross them, but not everyone bent to their will. Emily Harper, a 16-year-old junior, was an anomaly in the Lincoln High ecosystem. She'd transferred from a small town in Colorado just 3 months ago, her family uprooted by her father's job as a mechanic. Emily was slight, with sharp green eyes that seemed to see through people, and dark hair she kept in a no-nonsense ponytail. She wasn't loud or flashy like the cheerleaders or the drama kids, she preferred her dog-eared paperbacks, her sketchpad filled with intricate pencil drawings, and the quiet solitude of the library's back corner. Her father, a former martial arts instructor who'd trained in judo, karate, and taekwondo, had spent years teaching her self-defense in their Colorado backyard. "It's not about fighting," he'd say, his voice calm but firm. "It's about knowing you can." Emily had taken those lessons to heart, but she never spoke of them. To her, they were private, like the sketches she hid from the world. Jake, Matt, and Tyler, however, saw Emily as an easy target. It started with small cruelties, a snicker about her thrift store jeans, a whispered, "Colorado," that dripped with mockery, a shoulder bump in the hallway that sent her book sprawling. Emily brushed it off, her father's words echoing, "Choose your battles." But the trio, drunk on their own invincibility, didn't stop. By October, their taunts had become a daily ritual, a sport as thrilling to them as pinning an opponent on the wrestling mat. They'd wait for her after geometry class, their favorite hunting ground being the narrow hallway near the gym, where lockers lined both walls like steel sentinels. It was a choke point, crowded with students rushing to their next class, the perfect place to corner someone without drawing too much attention. "Hey, Colorado, where's your cowboy hat?" Jake would jeer, his broad frame blocking her path. Matt would toss her backpack to Tyler, who'd pretend to rifle through it, tossing out a pencil or a notebook with a smirk. The other students, caught in the crossfire of fear and apathy, either laughed nervously or hurried away, unwilling to challenge the Wolverines, Golden Boys. Emily's cheeks would burn, but she kept her head down, her fists clenched in her pockets. She told herself it would pass, that they'd get bored. But they didn't. The bullying escalated as the state wrestling championships loomed closer, the school buzzing with anticipation. The Wolverines were poised for another title, and Jake, Matt, and Tyler were the linchpins of the team. Jake, a heavyweight with a grip like a vice, was undefeated in his weight class. Matt, lean and quick, was a master of technical pins. Tyler, with his relentless aggression, could wear down any opponent. Their coach, Mr. Donovan, called them the trifecta, and the town treated them like local royalty. But for Emily, their status only made the torment worse. They'd trip her in the cafeteria, sending her tray of spaghetti crashing to the floor, the room erupting in laughter as sauce stained her sneakers. They'd scrawl, "Colorado Crybaby," on her locker in marker, the ink smudging under her attempts to scrub it off. Once, Matt, accidentally, dumped a cup of soda on her sketchpad, ruining a drawing she'd spent weeks perfecting. Each incident chipped away at her, the weight of their cruelty settling like a stone in her chest. Emily stopped eating lunch in the cafeteria, retreating to the bleachers by the football field, where she could eat her sandwich in peace. She took longer routes to class, weaving through less traveled hallways, but the trio always seemed to find her. Her grades, once straight A's, began to slip as her focus wavered, her mind replaying their taunts instead of conjugating Spanish verbs. At home, her parents noticed the change, her silence at dinner, the way she flinched when the phone buzzed with a notification. "Is something wrong, Em?" her mother asked, her brow furrowed. Emily forced a smile, insisting she was just tired, adjusting to the new school. She didn't want to worry them, and more than that, she didn't want to admit how small she felt. The breaking point came on a crisp November afternoon, just 3 days before the regional wrestling qualifiers. The school was electric with excitement, posters proclaiming, "Wolverines win," plastered across every hallway. Emily, however, was on edge. She'd overheard the trio in the locker room hallway, their voices low and conspiratorial as they planned to give Colorado a real send-off after school. She didn't know what they meant, but the malice in their tone told her it would be public, humiliating, and meant to break her. Her stomach churned as she packed her bag after her last class, her hands trembling. She considered skipping the hallway altogether, sneaking out through the science wing, but a spark of defiance flared inside her. She was tired of running, tired of hiding, tired of letting them win. As the final bell rang, Emily stepped into the hallway, her heart pounding like a drum. The crowd was thick, students jostling toward the exits, their chatter a dull roar. And there they were, Jake, Matt, and Tyler, leaning against the lockers like wolves waiting for a lamb. Jake's grin was wide, predatory, his Letterman jacket stretched tight across his shoulders. "Well, look who showed up," he said, stepping forward. "Ready for your close-up, Colorado." Matt and Tyler flanked him, their laughter sharp and cutting. The crowd slowed, sensing trouble, some students pulling out their phones, ready to capture whatever came next. Emily's pulse raced, but her father's lessons flooded back, years of drills in the backyard, his voice steady, "Balance is everything. Use their strength against them. Stay calm." She dropped her backpack to the floor, her stance subtle but ready, her weight balanced on the balls of her feet. "Leave me alone," she said, her voice low but clear, cutting through the hallway's hum. Jake laughed, a harsh bark that echoed off the lockers. "Or what?" He lunged, his hand aiming for her shoulder to shove her into the lockers, a move he'd perfected over weeks of torment. But Emily was faster. She sidestepped, her body moving with the precision of muscle memory, her father's training kicking in like a reflex. As Jake's momentum carried him forward, she drove her knee upward, striking him squarely in the lower abdomen, just below his ribcage. The air rushed out of him in a sharp, pained grunt, and he doubled over, his face a mask of shock and agony. The hallway went silent, the crowd frozen, phones still recording. Matt, his smirk vanishing, lunged toward her, his arms swinging wildly. Emily pivoted, grabbing his wrist and twisting it in a judo hold, using his own force to send him crashing into the lockers with a metallic thud that echoed like a gunshot. Tyler, slower but furious, charged with a clumsy fist aimed at her shoulder. Emily ducked, her knee snapping up again, catching him in the meat of his thigh. He yelped, his leg buckling as he stumbled back, clutching the spot where her strike had landed. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Jake was still hunched over, gasping for breath. Matt leaned against the lockers, his arm limp, his pride bruised more than his body. Tyler limped, his face red with embarrassment. Emily stood tall, her green eyes blazing, her stance unwavering. "I said, leave me alone," she repeated, her voice carrying a quiet authority that made the air feel heavier. The crowd parted as Mr. Callahan, the burly history teacher, pushed through, his face a mix of confusion and alarm. "What the hell's going on here?" he barked, looking from Emily to the three boys, who were scrambling to regain their composure. Jake muttered something about, just joking around, but his voice was weak, his breath still ragged. Matt and Tyler stayed silent, their eyes on the floor. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, some students whispering, "Did you see that?" While others uploaded their videos to social media, the moment already going viral. By the next morning, Lincoln High was a different place. The videos of Emily's knee strikes spread like wildfire, tagged with hashtags like #ColoradoKicks, #BullyBeatdown, and #LockerTakedown. The school administration, caught off guard, launched an investigation, but the evidence was overwhelming. Dozens of students had witnessed the incident, and the videos showed the trio's aggression clear as day. Jake, Matt, and Tyler faced immediate suspension, a blow that reverberated through the school. Jake's abdominal injury, while not severe, left him unable to compete in the regional qualifiers, his dreams of a final state title crushed. Matt's twisted wrist sidelined him, and Tyler's bruised thigh slowed him down, forcing the Wolverines to scramble for replacements. Without their star trio, the team floundered at regionals, losing their shot at another championship. The town, once so proud of its wrestling dynasty, grumbled about that new girl, who'd ruined everything. Emily, meanwhile, became an unwilling legend. Students who'd once ignored her now approached with cautious awe, some offering fist bumps, others asking her to teach them that neat thing. She deflected the attention, retreating to her usual haunts, the library, the bleachers, anywhere she could be alone with her thoughts. But the shift was undeniable. The hallways felt safer, the whispers of Colorado replaced with murmurs of respect. The school held anti-bullying assemblies, and a student-led group formed to support new kids, inspired by Emily's stand. Even the teachers looked at her differently, Mr. Callahan pulling her aside to say, "You did what you had to, kid. But don't make a habit of it." At home, Emily finally told her parents everything, the words spilling out over dinner one night. Her mother's eyes welled up, her father's jaw tightened, but he pulled her into a hug, his voice thick with pride. "You protected yourself, Em. That's what matters. But now you carry this, good and bad." The good was her newfound strength, the knowledge that she could stand her ground. The bad was the weight of being the girl who ended the Wolverines' title hopes, the stares and whispers that followed her like a shadow. Months later, at a spring assembly, Emily was called to the stage to receive an award for courage, her name read aloud to a standing ovation. She accepted it with a shy smile, her speech brief but powerful. "I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to be left alone. If you see someone being hurt, don't just stand there. Do something." The crowd roared, and for the first time, Emily felt like Lincoln High might be home. The Wolverines never regained their former glory. Jake, Matt, and Tyler returned after their suspensions, but their swagger was gone, their reputations tarnished. They avoided Emily, their eyes downcast when she passed. Emily, meanwhile, kept practicing her knee strikes in the backyard with her father, her movements sharper, more confident. She hoped she'd never need them again, but she was ready, just in case. And in the quiet moments, when she sat with her sketchpad, she drew not just landscapes but herself, a girl who stood tall, unafraid, her knee raised like a promise to the world.